Alright, hi everyone, how's it going? And welcome to another video. Now, I want to do a follow-up video on the last video I did. Last video I did was on UFC 220, and I was talking about the fight of Francis Ngannou versus Stipe Miocic. Well, right now I want to do sort of a follow-up on that, talk about that. Now, I did not see the outcome of this fight coming. I made my predictions. I predicted that Francis Ngannou was going to knock out Stipe Miocic, and like I said, I just didn't see that coming. That did not happen. That wasn't what the outcome was, and I'm sure most people also felt that Francis Ngannou was going to be the winner of this match. Like I said, just didn't happen. As you could tell in the match, it appeared that Francis Ngannou seemed very dangerous in the first round. I know he did hit Stipe Miocic pretty hard, and I want to say it was the first round. And Stipe Miocic even mentioned at the end of the fight, I believe it was the press conference, where he said, he did hit me, and as you can see, he hit me pretty good. And, he did. Francis Ngannou did do some damage to Stipe Miocic, but he was unable to knock him out. And the fight did end up going the distance, and as you could clearly see in the later rounds, Francis Ngannou was just way too gassed and probably didn't have, nearly as devastating a punching power as he did in the beginning of the fight. So, yeah, it was quite a match nonetheless. I mean, I was excited to see this. There was a lot of hype around it, especially around Francis Ngannou. You could clearly tell that Dana White wanted Ngannou to win. Stipe Miocic knew this as well. He even mentioned it in an interview that, he felt Dana White favored Ngannou, and you definitely could tell that Dana White wanted Ngannou to win. Because like I said in the last video, Dana White was hoping for having a fighter that would knock everybody out in the first round, and people would be like, who could beat this guy? And that kind of thing is really good for business. That's why Dana White wanted that. But that just didn't happen. So, hopefully now they'll hype up Stipe Miocic a bit more. That he'll get more publicity and more hype than he's gotten, because he is an excellent fighter, but I don't feel like he's gotten kind of like the promotion or the hype behind him as much as he deserves. Like, he should be hyped up a bit more. He's beaten the best, and now he really has. So yeah, it was just quite a matchup. Like I said, I did not expect that to happen. But yeah, so I was wrong in my prediction, and sometimes you are in these kinds of things, especially when it comes to something like MMA, where anything can happen. Now, what will happen with Francis Ngannou? Will he make a comeback? I don't know. I know one fighter who's always good at recovering from losses is Chael Sonnen, and he's always said that when you lose, you immediately got to be in that practice room again on Monday, training and trying to launch a comeback. And Chael Sonnen has definitely done that. And I do want to mention him next, because while this UFC event was going on, there's also a Bellator fight going on. And one of the main events was Chael Sonnen against Rampage. Now, Rampage was the heaviest he had ever been in this fight. He was about 260 pounds. Chael was 220, so this was a heavyweight fight. To my best of knowledge, I don't think Chael Sonnen has ever fought as a heavyweight, because I do recall him saying something to the fact that this is like the first fight he's ever had where he didn't have to have a weight cut. So, yeah, so he weighed in at 220, Chael. And Chael Sonnen has said in the past that he thinks size is overrated, that a smaller guy can be quicker, more maneuverable, better cardio. So he feels that size is something that's a bit overrated. But at the same time, he wasn't sure what Rampage would be like. And although I didn't see the fight, I did see a highlight reel. And in the highlight reel, it looked quite a bit like Chael's fight with Vanderlei Silva. Very similar to that, where Chael ended up winning a decision, pretty hard-fought decision, utilized a lot of grappling, but in the end ended up winning. So it was a lot like that. And, I definitely think that's pretty cool, because it is cool to see Chael, at this stage in his career, kind of launching a bit of a comeback. I know there's some, Bellator tournament, and it would be interesting to see how far Chael's able to go in this. But, yeah, so in addition to the Miocic Ngannou fight, though, and I excuse me, and I do want to mention this, there was also the fight before that, Daniel Cormier. And Daniel Cormier was able to win. It was in the second round. And I predicted that one. I predicted that one correctly, that Daniel Cormier would be the winner. But yeah, I guess, I kind of bought into all the Ngannou hype. And, he very well still could be, a great fighter, and he could launch a comeback. However, sometimes what happens is when a fighter loses, the mystique of the fighter is broken. Because there are some fighters that really benefit from that mystique around them. George St. Pierre definitely had that. And then the mystique was broken when he lost 2 fights. One to Matt Serra and another to Matt Hughes. So when he lost those fights, the mystique was kind of broken, but St. Pierre was able to launch a pretty good comeback. So, will Ngannou be able to do the same thing now that the mystique is broken? Will he be able to launch a good comeback? I mean, that remains to be seen. But, yeah, it was, UFC 220 was a good event. Nonetheless, I know I liked it a lot. Had a lot of family members over. We had about 5 pizzas, and it was just a good time. It was just a good time. Good get together. So, yeah, that's all I've got. If you've watched this video, as always, I thank you for watching. Have a good night.